Morning. Today I'm talking with Will Godfrey, CEO of Bath and North East Somerset Council. Morning, Will. How are you?
Hello, very good, thank you. It's good to speak to you.
Did you have a nice bank holiday weekend?
Well, not too bad. The weather wasn't great, though, was it? So
I woke up this morning
yesterday.
and absolutely everything is just scattered. It's our recycling day today. And it's just, so I do feel for the staff. They've already been out, mind. They've done a brilliant job, haven't they? Just not now, but all through the pandemic, keeping all the waste services going. You must be very proud of them.
Oh, they've done a brilliant job, and not only those guys, but across the whole organisation. I just think that we've had to do stuff in the last 12 months that nobody would have thought we'd have had to do in the circumstances we've had to do them under. Yeah, and I think all colleagues across all services have done an incredible job, and I am really proud of the way the organisation stepped up.
You must be, because you've not been here terribly long, really, before the pandemic, had you? So it's been, for you personally, it's probably been not quite the introduction that you were expecting.
Yeah, I mean, so I joined in October 2019. So yeah, it was what, 5-6 months after that it all sort of started. And yeah, it was an interesting time, because obviously you spend, whenever you come into an organisation, you have to spend a bit of time getting to know it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was one of those sort of situations where I had lots of things that I wanted to try to do, sort of March, April time, and then inevitably the focus of my time had to shift. But it is what it is. You have to get on with it.
And it is incredible, isn't it? I've spoken to quite a few organisations, obviously much smaller than Baines, but they've said the same thing. And things that they thought would take ages to change, because it's had to change, people have just got on and done it. Suddenly the number of people who said, "Oh, we could never actually work from home, we have to be in the office," have discovered that, in fact, working from home as a balance can work.
Yeah, we went from probably the couple of weeks beginning of March, we had probably 50-60 people working from home, to in April having over 1,000 people working from home. So you just think about the logistics and the challenge about doing that. But look, nobody would have wanted these circumstances to come around the way they did, in terms of the challenge we've faced, and obviously the terrible tragedy lots of people have faced over the last sort of year or so. But I guess when you step back at it and you look at it from the perspective of managing, leading an organisation, it has been an amazing opportunity to sort of to change the way we do things. And I think what I've tried to do over these last 12 months is to recognise the fact that it's been difficult, to provide as much support as we can to colleagues in terms of their welfare and their well-being, to manage that, but also to look at it as an opportunity to actually change and modernise the organisation. So I think you've got to always try to find a balance through those circumstances, to understand the seriousness of the position, but also to try to make it into a positive as much as you can.
I know exactly what you mean. No one in any way is saying the pandemic was a good thing, but maybe the best way to honour the people who suffered so much is to come out of it the other end with a different way of doing things. What kind of things do you think sorry, you can take the girl out of the council, but even when I'm being a mayor, I still say we. What kind of things do you think the council may continue to do that it's learnt now? I mean, I guess home working in part may be one of them.
Yeah, so we'll definitely change the way that we operate. I mean, I've said to people before, I was one of those people who was a bit sort of skeptical about working from home 12 months ago. I hadn't really done it, right? And now I can't conceive of a set of circumstances where I will be going back to work in an office 5 days, 5 days a week. Now, the reality is it'll be different for different people. So
Sure.
What we're trying to do, and I'm trying to have this conversation with colleagues about, I don't want an organisation that's driven by lots of rules. What we want is a framework that we can develop together that recognises that we do lots of different things as a council, and you can't, it doesn't work if you impose a rule for everybody, because it's not appropriate. You talk about our sort of refuse and recycling crews. They will operate differently from our planners, who will operate differently from our social workers, who will operate differently from our registrars. So you've got to think about you've got to have a framework as an organisation, I think, and try to make sure that the framework works for people without making it a set of rules that works for some people but doesn't work for other people.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. One of the people who I've chatted with is a lady called Jackie Weaver, who rose to fame at the famous Anthorpe Parish Council. And actually, she's used her newfound viral fame to talk about the things that she's always been passionate about, i.e. engagement, people getting involved with local government at all levels. And we had quite a good chat about the fact that the public have found it easier to engage maybe with the virtual meetings. And I know that at the moment they haven't been extended, but what do you think we can do to make sure that the engagement that we've got now can continue into the future?
Yeah, so the first thing to say is, it is really important, isn't it, that local government is accessible to communities, and people make sure that they can influence what's happening at a local level. And I'm a passionate believer in the importance of local government, and I actually think that the last 12 months have shown local government at its absolute best. We've been thrown an amazing amount of challenges, and I think we've absolutely stepped up to those. So yeah, I think trying to make sure that we can be as flexible as possible and we can operate in a way that gives as much accessibility to people as possible is good. And the reality is that not everybody wants to turn up to a meeting sometimes in a community centre on a cold, dark, wet Tuesday evening. So you've got to find different ways to engage people, and we've learned lots of different skills about how to do that over the last 12 months. And again, it's important that we embed those now in how we do our business.
Yeah, I agree. I think with all these things, isn't it? It's a balance. It's finding what's right for some people. Some people enjoy Zoom. On a personal level, I'm so grateful to the team that I've got with me and what we've managed to do on Zoom. But I do miss actually seeing people. And would like to have been able to have done more physical face-to-face. But then, as you say, for other people, their idea of heaven is to stay at home, do everything over Zoom, and they're incredibly efficient in that way. So if you can create an environment where everyone thrives according to and does it in a way that means the team thrives as well, that's got to be the right thing to do.
Yeah, look, there's no right or wrong in it. It's like you say, there's you've got to get a balance to all these things, don't you? And I agree with you. I think to myself that, there are some colleagues I haven't seen for probably 12 months. There are some colleagues I have seen in the last few months, whatever. And I do think you lose a little bit of organisational cohesion when you don't get the opportunity to just sort of see people and pick up on those things that are a bit more subtle in terms of how people engage with each other. So yeah, it's really important that we spend the next few months, but we do, reintroducing people to do that, but we do it safely, because the reality is, you say, there'll be some people who will be, who can't wait to get out and meet other people, and there are some people who are very nervous about that. And I think one of the roles of being a leader is you've got to listen to everybody and understand that actually you can't just impose perhaps what you want to do on other people. You have to listen because other people want to do different things.
Yeah, and that's what makes a good team, isn't it? And I am allowed to say, obviously, no disrespect to our North East Somerset colleagues, but I am just the mayor of Bath, not North East Somerset. So on behalf of the city of Bath, can I thank you, and can you pass it on to your team so much for everything that you've done? I think Baines coming out of this is in a far, far better place than it would have been had it not been for the work of you and your team. And I'm sure that it has been quite tough at times, because my heart especially goes out to members of staff who've had to learn how to homework whilst having their children at home, and whilst trying to keep going with what has been a very pressured job. You should feel incredibly proud of what you and your team has done, and Bath is in a better place because of it. So from the bottom of my heart, can I thank you?
Yeah, thank you for that. And certainly from my point of view, it's sort of ebbed and flowed, I think, over the last few months. I think, we had that situation, I think, right at the beginning, in a perverse sort of way. There was a bit of sort of adrenaline flowing, I think, at the beginning, because it was one of those things that was different, that was new, and we were learning different things. And then I think we went through the summer and sort of, the weather was okay, and people were thinking, oh, September, October, we'll be able to start getting back and see each other. And then, sort of autumn comes and you get another spike of sort of cases, and people start feeling a bit more nervous about it. I think the real trigger for me was that period sort of just after Christmas, where we had another big spike of cases. I think, you know, people started getting, I think people's fatigue level started building, and I think people's tolerance quite naturally started waning. And I certainly saw a big difference in people's sort of, you know, mental health thing in that sort of January, February time. And I think organisationally we've tried to be alert to that, and we've tried to, you know, help each other to do that. But yeah, look, it's been, you know, it has been difficult, but like I say, I think we've also learned a lot, which, as you say, you know, I think will make us a better organisation going forward.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely, completely, totally agree with that. And again, would agree with you on the timing. I think the weather didn't help around January. And also there was that thing, when I've spoken to some organisations, they said that's when it really hit home, because anyone who'd got a little buffer of money, by then the buffer of money had gone if they'd been furloughed or lost their job. And also there was compassion fatigue, sounds awful, but they'd almost run out of the goodwill of people, because our communities have astounded me in how they've all stacked up and pulled together. But I think we did all have a slough of despond, sort of January, February time, and hopefully we're now on the way up. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Been really appreciated. We'll put the video up soon. So for now, thanks, Mr. Godfrey. Very appreciated.
Thank you very much. Great to speak to you.